Hello everyone, welcome to an exciting tutorial about how to use the editor in Overpass. Just came out today on Steam. I'm excited. Let's ride that excitement. Hopefully my volume levels are pretty good. First thing you want to do, obviously, from the title screen, go to Community, Editor. Super important. Super important. From here, if you already have levels, they will be displayed here. If you don't have any levels already, you'll start on this tab here. So I'm going to assume you're going to start here on the music track. You can use bumpers to go back and forth, or you can use tab and things like that. I'll browse here. Let me pick a song. You can't see it on my screen, but I'll pick a song out real quick. Let's see. I'm going here, here, and here. This is a good one. Okay, so I picked a WAV file. You can actually use WAV or MP3. They're both available. This is actually my song. Artist is Bean. Oops. Artist is Bean. Artist is Bean. I can do it. Wasn't working. Title is Beanbox. Artist is me. And we'll switch this over. You can go left and right here to change the website that goes with the artist. That will allow you to give credit to the artist where credit is due. I'll do my Twitter. Director is also me. Notes. These will be displayed when people play the level. Also, it'll be part of the Steam Workshop description. So notes. Have fun. I tried my best. There you go. BPM. This is set to 120, which is where most music is going to be close to, but of course every song is different. So, to figure out the BPM, very important, we're going to go to play, and we'll hit A, or control on the keyboard, and that starts the song. And then you'll go over to tap and start tapping the music. So I'll start tapping when I hear the beat. Here we go. Ready, and tap, 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 tap. Just do a few of these until you start seeing it to settle down. You'll see the BPM's kind of settling on about 150. Maybe it's 151. Okay, so we have 150. First beat was automatically typed in. That is the time in the song where the first beat occurs. Don't worry about use current. All right, so beats per measure is 4. That's going to be for almost every song. Some songs are 3 beats per measure, and so that might be happening as well. So let's see. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we'll go to create new, and this is kind of the important part here. Once you create a new level, this is kind of creating all the stuff in your folder. So you'll see in Documents, Overpass, Levels, you'll have a folder called, for me it'll be called Beanbox. So that in mind, our level has been created, and now you can see up top we have all our tabs available to us. You will see Beanbox here somewhere. There's the one I just made here, the lowercase one, Beanbox. Let's just go through the tabs real quick. The first one all the way on the left is your save and options. You can go back to the title, check out game options. You can change volume, put on automatic here. Very important if you want the level to test itself so you don't have to worry about timing. New level, don't hit that. That'll start a new level. Save, you can do that as much as you want. Autosave is currently on. That saves once every minute. And when you're ready and your level's finished, then you'll go to upload to Workshop, but we won't do that right now. Editor settings, this is important here for laying down the track, so to speak. So playback speed, it can only go slower in case you need help slowing down the song so you can get some really fine inputs. Grid display, you can see that's the grid there. I'm going to leave that on for now. It does help out at the beginning. Later on, once the objects are there, you don't really need the grid display anymore. Grid size is currently on quarter beats. You can make it 1/8, so it's double time. I believe this song does use double time, so we don't need to go further. But this goes all the way to 32. And if you need more than 32, you picked a really complicated song. We'll go to 8th. View lock is currently on objects. We'll leave that as is. We'll pick out our objects for now. We have a deck of 4 objects from the game. 4 at a time is all you get. You can switch them as much as you want. But for now, we'll just leave it on default, but you can switch easily between the desert, forest, village, all the areas of the game. You can also just look at every single object in the game and freely pick between those. And you can assign them to A, B, X, Y on your controller, or 1, 2, 3, 4 on the keyboard. So again, you can kind of assign these however you want and however you want. So I'll just kind of Just do those. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So let's see. That's pretty good for right now. Let's lay some stuff down. All right. So we'll play the song here. I'm in record mode, as you can see on the left where it says record. If you do Control Space on keyboard, you'll switch to testing mode. That lets you test the game. Recording mode is nice because you can play the song and then just press buttons in real time as it's playing. So I'm going to play here, and I'm just going to be pressing A, B, X, and Y. You can see on the side it says 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm currently on keyboard inputs. And if you hold left or right, you'll create your object in those lanes. If you hold down or up, you'll create it low or high. If you don't hold any direction, it'll just be centered, an object in the center. So just doing that on the keyboard or controller, you can very quickly map out the whole song. So here we go. I'm actually going to, let's do regular speed for a bit. Here we go. Ready, and... Bum, 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 bum. All right, so if you want to play and pause, that's D-pad right or spacebar. That'll stop and pause. Forward and back on your joystick or keyboard will let you rewind and fast forward, so you can kind of go back to where you were. D-pad up will let you get rid of those grids. You can kind of see how it gets in the way when they're kind of there for a while. Right, so that's pretty cool. If you want to tweak any of these, if you use bumpers, right bumper, left bumper, or comma, period on the keyboard, you can go between them, and here you can shift them. So I can have this one using the right stick on the controller. We can switch lanes with left and right, and we can change the height with up and down. You can just hold that down. For keyboard, that is shift right, shift left, or shift up, shift down, and you can hold down the buttons to kind of have it. If you want to know what any of these keys are, by the way, that little help in the top right, hold the right trigger, and you've got yourself every button combination on the controller. If you use backspace, you'll get all the keyboard relevant keys, of which there are far more, because you can just do a lot more with the keyboard. So that's all there to help you out, if in case you forget what to press to do what. But you can, again, with keyboard or controller, do all the things I'm telling you so far. If you want to switch this, you can just hit any of the buttons on your deck, A, B, X, Y, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you hold left, you can kind of do that as well, make them right lanes. Doesn't really matter. If it's animated like this one, you'll see it does animate, so you can kind of watch it happen over and over there. Let's see. So if you want to, So if you want to, let's rewind a bit here. If you want to test out the level, I mean, you can go into hold right D-pad. It'll switch to testing mode or control space. You can start playing, and now it'll start giving you misses. I can't play my level. Right, so that's pretty good so far. If you have an object that is off by 1, like let's see the grid. So if I wanted this this falling column to be like back here on this one, I don't have to delete it and move it back. If you just do Control down, it'll move towards you. So there you go. That'll move it by 1 space. Very helpful. You can do Control forward as well to move it back forward. Now, does it erase things in front of it? Yes, it does. So be wary of if you're rewinding it or pushing it back. You might be deleting stuff behind you by accident. That's very useful. What else is cool? Have that keep slamming over and over. Slower speed, right? You can see what that's like if we move this down. Playback speed's 50, so now... So that helps out if you're recording. Right now it's just testing, but if you're recording, that's a lot easier for doing that kind of stuff. If you notice it's not in sync, if things are off a little bit, like if you're snapped right here at 1-1 and you know the beat should be like back here, or maybe it should be a little bit forward, like you can kind of play it a few times and be like, oh, the eyeball should be right there when the actual beat happens. Put your camera where it should be, like what I did right now. Put it where it should be and hold Shift and press B. And that's here as well. If you look fourth from the bottom, you can see set current position as first beat, Shift B, and that'll reset everything and change the position where it's located, right? So that in mind, let's start playing with some of our road settings, right? Level type, normal, or bonus. If you don't know what bonus is, don't worry about it. Miles per hour, this one's cool. This just changes the distance between all the objects. So if I make it 40 miles per hour, everything's going to be very close to each other. You can see... Oh, let's get off of playback speed. All right, and so let me put on automatic gameplay here. So gameplay, go down to auto lane on, auto input on, and that way the game will just play itself. So I can just kind of talk while this thing is doing a perfect input. Notice you can't see the inputs here. Not very cool. So what can we do? I mean, we can change the miles per hour, but we can move these slightly down, right? We can inch them one by one until the marker is visible. Little trick you can do in case they're... But now you can see them, right? This one might be... Move that one up. Or maybe move it to something else. Side lane? Get out of here. You can kind of see it. Actually, if I move this to right, ooh, you'll see that one. Oh, there you go. Right, little tricks you can do to make things more visible. But anyway, we can just switch the miles per hour to be... It was 80, so there you can see now there's more space between them. We can go all the way up to 150, and now there's a lot of speed going on, less time to react, but plenty of space between all of the objects, right? So that's something to keep in mind here. Let's rewind again. All right. Region, desert, you can change your region to whatever you want. Forest, village, etc. Do that on the fly, all easy to do. Each region has a number of variations, ranging from 1 to 4. They're all slightly different. You can see this one, Desert 4, has palm trees that are lining here. Desert 2 has very few pyramid structures, but lots of sand dunes on the side. They all have slight variations to them. So you can see Forest has unused ones, actually. Where's the oh yeah, this is not in the game. All the tree stumps is just tree stumps only. Very interesting. So play around with those. We'll go back to Desert 1 just to be consistent here. Road bend. Right now 0 is straight road. If we can go from 3 to -3, 3 bends to the right a lot. So you can see if I fast forward, you can see we're really bending over the course of the whole level. You can see the playhead at the bottom to see how fast we're moving here. And again, -3 goes the other way. So now it's bending to the left. Now on top of this road bend, you can add a shape to the road. So right now it's straight. Let me make it 0 so you can see that. So ripple has a slight curve, a little bit, it snakes, a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, a little to the left, right? So that kind of movement is subtle. If you go to wave, it's the same idea, but it's even more extreme. So it's going to actually bend quite a bit as it's going. Our sun's getting in the way. Let's get ahead of ourselves to start direction. You can turn the sun around to whatever you want. There you go. Now the sun's not an issue. Another interesting thing you can do is dynamic, which makes the road bend more when there are more things in the level. So we have dynamic here, so you can see the road is bent a lot, and then once we get here, the road doesn't do as well. You can't really see it. Once you have more objects, it'll make more sense here. Anti-dynamic is the opposite, so if there are a lot of objects, it'll be a straight road, and then when there's a break from objects on the screen, it'll actually start curving more. So it's kind of an interesting thing you can do with that. We'll go back to Ripple. One of my favorite ones, Ripple, and then you can add the road bend on top, so it's slightly going to the right, but still doing that snaking pattern, so kind of interesting there. If you're off in the middle of nowhere like I am, I'm just hitting left bumper, and it just goes back to the closest object behind you. So let's say you wanted to just do something really snappy, right? So if we have... Let's wait for that part. Alright, so starting from 12.3, it goes da-da-da-da. Right, so if I want to do it piece by piece, right, we can go back to editor settings, change view lock to grid. So now if I use bumpers, it'll actually go grid to grid instead of snapping to the nearest object. So 12.3, I can go, take my time and go this one, then I want that, then I want this one, and I want it to be low, and then we'll do that and make that one high. There we go. Alright, so now we can play it back. Right, so not very clear of what's going on, but at least you can see how you can snap between objects and things like that to make it easier. You can snap between grid points if you want to fine-tune things, go back one by one, and you can always change that right there. Did we finish everything here? We did everything except lamps. Lamps is currently on none. If you set it to anything else, lamps will start appearing. Left is first, then right. Right is what you see most often in the main campaign. Lamps are added very predictably. So starting from the beginning, they'll appear whenever there's a blank spot on a grid point, only on a a half beat, right? So you'll see them here. We'll take a break. If these are occurring too quickly, like on 8th beats like I did, they won't appear. When there's quarter beats only, they'll start appearing again, and it'll appear between. So once there's a big group of no objects, they'll appear even more often, but you can see they appear on the beat, on the quarter beats. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 up. And they do not appear after the end, so you can tell there's no more objects at this point because the lamps don't appear. If you're changing stuff, like if I'm right here, and I add an object, you see the lamp didn't go away, don't worry about that. It'll fix itself next time you load it, or you can just kind of do a quick little update of the lamps and it'll fix itself. The last one here is alternating. That's where it'll be left, right, and so you have to be really paying attention to where they are instead of knowing that they'll always be on one side. The final one is random, which every time you do it, they're in a different spot. So the timing of when they appear is always the same, but which lane they'll be in, left or right, is different. You'll also see as you change regions, the lamps will change. Well, the lamp didn't change here. I just have to refresh it here. But you can see the lamps are now made of wood. They're like wooden lamps that go with the forest. So each region actually has its own lamps that are themed with it. You can see these lamps are actually ones that I saw in Tokyo when I was visiting. So I was like, oh, let me put the Tokyo lamps back in. All right, so that's cool. Let's go back to Desert 1. Fix our lamps. We'll make right lamps. And our level has been saving every minute, but if you want to save, you can just hold, press D-pad left or Control S. If you hold D-pad left, you'll toggle autosave. I believe Control A does the same thing on keyboard, so turn that on or off as you please. If you want to delete an object, very simple. It's D-pad down or the delete key. We'll hold delete down, because on an Xbox controller, it's very easy to accidentally hit D-pad down. So that's a hold D-pad down, and you can delete those. Easy enough. All right. Last tab is probably the one everyone loves the most. This is, let's turn our grid off. This is the lighting and weather. So time of day, we're in daytime. We can go morning all the way through sunset, nighttime, and then these weird things called void and omni, which is no lights and then many lights turned on. So we'll do sunset. Fog, you can see as soon as you turn it on, everything turns a weird color. You can turn on fog on sky. It's default on. You can turn it off, and that way the fog will only affect the objects themselves and not the sky. There are a lot of cool combinations of things you can do here. So let's just kind of go, let's play it straight here. So we'll do some nice fog. We'll change the color to here. If you want to see the color, just press A or Control while you're actually on these sliders. Let's see, so we'll go slightly purple. We'll turn this down a little bit more saturated, and we'll apply that. Okay, so that's our fog color. We can turn that up really high. The cool thing is, things really far away have that solid purple color, and as they get closer, they kind of show their true color. If I make it really low, you can see it's very subtle. But I always recommend having some kind of fog on. You don't want to have nothing, because you don't have a sense of depth. Now, once you're going for artistic looking things, maybe you'll want to change those rules. There's always an exception. Object color lets you change the color of the objects themselves. I'm going to make this one a weird color here. Bam. You can see they've all changed colors. Might be hard to see because of the fog. If you turn the fog off, it'll be easier to see. You can do flat colors as well. If you do flat, then they'll be super bright. There's still a little bit of shading on them, but the coloring is very bright. Even through the fog, you can kind of see that it's easy to see that right there. So Siri is listening to me. I'm going to turn her off. Siri, please go away. Okay, thank you. Moving on, we can do world color. That changes all the colors of the things that are not interactive objects. So we can make a very pleasing puke yellow-green. And they're so far away, you can't really... There, when they get close, you can kind of see them there. Maybe the palm trees. Yeah, the palm trees, you can see they look... I'm making a beautiful-looking level here. You can also go back to the original color, so you can just go use original color, and then they're all kind of reset there. Wet is a weird one. It just looks like it darkens the screen when it's by itself. You really need to have fog on sky, and we'll make the fog color a more pleasant, pale, bright, as if it's just a very foggy day. Object color, we'll just use the original there. Okay, so here we have our fog here. You can kind of see very foggy. If we turn on wet now, it has this very cool effect where things that are further away look like they're further in moisture, like we're inside of a fog cloud. So saying wet is a very good way of making it feel like it's very musty, good for a jungle or the ocean level or something like that. Otherwise, just leave that off. And everyone's favorite is, let's see if we can do a different... apply there. Okay. Everyone's favorite filter stuff. We'll turn the fog on sky off. Ooh, that looks fun. All right, so filter is currently none. This is like Instagram type filters. If you go through these actually change, on top of everything you've done, they change even more of the visuals. Like accent, you can see, goes mostly black and white except for an accent on some yellows and some greens. Air, they just keep going. Cinematic cold, cinematic warm, a lot of desert specific ones that you can use anywhere, of course. Exposed, forgotten, grayscale, inverted, you know, it keeps going. Invert, which is interesting. Maritime, this one's the weird vaporwave one. Muted colors, polarization, retified, stencil, spooky. What else we got? Shade, throwing some shade. These are from the Twitch stuff, I just threw them in. So you can use any of those you want. So we'll use glare for now. Very interesting looking level now. Alright, so one more thing you might want to look at is tunnels. I think that would be very important. And we will, in fact... let's turn off the glare. This is too much for me. I can't handle it. We'll turn this down. Okay. Well, that just looks like a weird sunset. Alright, well, we need something. Hold on. We need something. It's gotta... Ooh. Ooh. Alright, so if we make tunnels, you can find them in objects. If you want to know all of the tunnels, you can't tell them really by sight here, but if you go backwards to everything, sound effects, these objects make sounds. These objects do not make sounds. These are consecutives. We'll get to those in a second. And then tunnels, of which there's only 4 right now in the game, but we'll do the first tunnel, basic one. Set that to our deck. And if you just press it while you're paused, it'll create, as you see, 1 grid units worth of tunnels. So whatever my grid size is, right now it's 0.5, so, or eighths. It'll go from 3, wherever I am, to 0.5. If I were to change my grid to, like, 1, where my grid only hits 15.1, 16.1, you'll see if I'm right here at 15.1 and I press A, it'll make the tunnel go all the way here. All right? Now, interesting thing is you can also, let's go to eighths, and you can also record, right? So let me make sure I'm in recording mode. Good. And I'll just play the song, and I'll just hold A and go left and right, and then let go of A when I'm done the tunnel, and it'll create the whole thing. So here we go. All right, so I just did that, and you can see the tunnel has been created, and I can go back into play mode, and it will... Bam, that's what I did there, right? So if you have view lock on objects, you'll see that from here, it actually goes forward through each little section of tunnels. Once you're done that, let me add a few more here. Okay, just so we have something to snap to. So once you're done there, it'll actually go to the next thing. Next object, all the way back here. If I go backwards, it actually does not go through all the pieces. Going backwards, it'll just go back to the beginning of the tunnel, so don't worry about that. This is where you can actually change the lanes. If you want to be like, oh, I wanted this to be here, I want to fine-tune this to move that. But like, what if you wanted something right here, right? What if you want something there? Well, go to view lock grid, and then once you snap here, you can actually use right stick or shift left right and add more pieces here. So you can go ahead and fine tune. I can even set this thing to 32 and then start making even more refined things. So completely up to you. If you want to extend it, I'm still on view lock grid. So if I can go to the end right here and press A, I can actually extend the grid a little bit more. So it's not exactly displaying it correctly, but you can see it is in fact doing it. And if I keep trying to go, it won't let me because there's an object in the way. So keep that in mind. You can change the height of the entire thing. Go back to the beginning of the tunnel, and you can still, just like before, use right stick up and down. It'll create the tunnel lower or higher. And again, you can change that first lane here as well. Easy enough, right? So that in mind, we have filters. Filters are super important. Maybe we'll get to that. Let's do that in 1 second. Let's just do the last one here. The last type of object you can see is called a consecutive. And a consecutive is when one or more than one object of the same type are in a row. We'll do this guy. Yeah, let's just do both. Okay. So when one or more are in a row, you'll see right now, I'm kind of placing them, whatever, not listening to the music. They kind of are by themselves, but if I reset the level, which I believe is Control R. May not be in the game yet. Control R, yep, there it goes. So Control R will do its magic, and since they're consecutive, it'll do what it needs to do for that specific object. This one's the train track, so it'll add the train track coming from the side, connect all the pieces together, and then it'll have the train track leave on the side there. Other stuff you can do, let's do the other consecutive. My other one was this one here, the lamp. So you can see it's kind of floating, doing nothing. Let me add some lamps here. Okay, so I added a bunch of lamps, and let me do Control R to refresh. And you can see now we have our ropes kind of connected, so you can see the strings there. This is one of the only times in the game I have strings, like telephone wire-esque things. Nowhere else in the game. So they do swing to the music. But anyway, so now they're all connected. Now if I were to add a non-consecutive object, like if I was to add this guy right in the middle, and we refresh the level, Control R, you'll see that they have now disconnected. So there's a wire connecting back here, and then the one back here is now going back into the ground on the left there. So you can do some fun stuff with playing with that. Lamps do not appear inside of consecutive, so if you can notice all my consecutives here, the lamps do not occur inside. So keep that in mind if you have a really long stretch of level. You're not going to be able to have lamps there. Last thing, we want to do some filters. And filters, if you snap to an object and you hit left stick, click it in, or you can press the F key. F's in chat. So filter, these are all the same filters you saw from the lighting and weather section. However, these are overrides, so whenever a player is playing and they hit this input, it'll actually change to this, whatever you choose here. So we can choose, let's do accent, right? These three things are how it animates. So starting from this point, how many beats does it take to fade all the way into looking like this, right? Right now it's at 0, duration 1, outro 1. So if we do that, it's going to appear for 1 beat and disappear. So that's 1 beat, it's there, 1 beat, it's gone. I can change this to take 8 beats to intro, and then we'll have it completely disappear immediately, right? So we'll do that. So now it'll take 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it's gone. If you're looking for objects that have filters on them, turn on the grid and you'll see on the grid there in the top right, there's a little aperture next to the height. By the way, that little thing is which height it's at, so you can kind of see the little notch going up and down next to the word data points. That shows you if you're all the way at the bottom or the top of where your object should be. So the little aperture means that there is a filter on it. You can very easily change this, right? So you saw the fade in, we can do fade in, last for 2, 3, 4 beats, and then fade out for 4. So this will take 12, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, now it's full, and now 1, 2, 3, 4 fades out. If you have another filter while another one is animating, it'll overwrite it and then start over again. So you can have filters undo themselves and things like that. Let's see. Other cool stuff you can do if you have a filter you want to keep applying everywhere, like there's a part of the song that keeps repeating. In your filter, you can do Control-C, filter event copied, and then you can go anywhere else. You can go to this one, and then Control-V, and then paste it, and it's just there. Now, what if you have a bunch in a row, right? What if you have, like these guys, right? You can actually just hit Control-V. You can use Tab, and go to the next one, Control-V, Tab, Control-V, Tab, Control-V. So very quickly you can do that, and then Control-Tab will let you go backwards if you want to do that. So that's a very quick way to copy and paste filters. One last thing, if you have something, a duration set to -1, you can go all the way 0 to -1. You can, in fact, that means it lasts forever. So it'll go to the end of the song. Unless another filter, of course, happens after that. But -1 means once it gets there, it'll just stay there. So this outro will never actually happen, no matter what it's set to. You can also type in things manually, so if you really want it to be a specific thing, you can do 1.75 or whatever you want to do. Type that in with keyboard. Interesting thing, I don't know if it's a bug or I'll fix it, but if you set things to none, it'll actually erase. Like right now I have the Desert Sunset filter. If I play it here, it actually set my filter to none real quick. So, I don't know, maybe you do want nothing to appear when you do that, so to truly delete it, you really should hit delete, and then it'll be gone there forever. So that's how filters work. I showed consecutives, I showed tunnels, we showed how things work there. Let's see, we went through all of these. I think we're pretty good. Is there anything I'm missing? Uploading to the workshop is very simple. It already pre-fills the title and your notes. You do need a screenshot, it's required, so position your camera where you want it to be and then hit take screenshot. I still have my grid on, so I'm going to turn the grid off, find a nice pleasing spot to see stuff, like this cool tunnel here. All right. Workshop, we'll take our screenshot, and then you just hit upload. And then it'll upload to the workshop. Easy as pie, all right? What else? Is that everything? That's about it. Trying to think. What else? Do I have little tricks that I do? Maybe I'll save it for another video. This has been a half hour already. So, perfect timing. That is exactly a half hour. That should get you started in the editor. Good luck. Have fun. If you have questions, hop on the Discord. You know how it works. That's about it. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy making stuff.